It's the end of December, which means it is also the holiday season, and this year I thought it would be really fun to make my own little holiday card. Right here, I was working on the original sketch, and after finishing this up, I moved over to working on my computer for the rest of the illustration. Before I could format this into a typical holiday card, I had to design the illustration on the front. After I brought the sketch into Clip Studio Paint, I started by doing a clean sketch or line art, which I still kept a little bit sketchy in some areas that I painted over later. For the actual drawing I did, I had in mind a lot of holiday preparation things that usually accompany it, like wrapping presents or putting up lights, which were the things I ended up including in the final piece. I tried out a few new brushes in this piece, which I really liked, but it also took a little getting used to, so I definitely went through a lot of trial and error and erasing and redrawing parts I didn't like. I think that this was definitely the longest section of the drawing process, and also most tedious and boring, so I was really happy when I finally got to move on to color. For the color, I really tried to plan out the colors with a lot of purpose. I even made a little color thumbnail on my iPad beforehand to really pin down the colors, which is something I don't think I've really ever done before with this drawing. I wanted it to be a lot of warmer tones throughout, so I ended up focusing on a lot of red, yellow, and browns throughout the piece. I also wanted to stick with a somewhat limited color palette, so I tried to use multiple of these colors in multiple different parts of the drawing. I had a lot of back and forth with the background color. I was between the teal you see here and a yellow and a reddish orange. My sister helped me out with that, and she said that she liked the teal the best, and I think she was definitely right. It was a good complementary color to the reds and yellows that are everywhere else in the piece. Here is where I started to add some shading and painting over some areas, and I also for some reason decided to play around with the brushes here again, so I ended up having to do a lot of messing around because it was a new brush. I did end up liking the brush I used for this painting and shading. It was kind of like a paint stroke brush and had really, really good pressure sensitivity, as well as a kind of smudging quality that I really liked, and it was really good for some of the shading areas, especially the clothes. One thing I think I lost recording of or just missed was the wrapping paper, but for that I used some pattern brushes from Clip Studio Paint to do some little wrapping paper patterns. I think that I definitely have to play around with the coloring brush and just the coloring in general. I really like the texture of the brush, but I think that there's definitely some different or better ways to use it, so I will definitely be playing with that some more. Final thing I worked on the characters was the hair, and I think this brush was also really good for the hair texture. I ended up using a combination of the lasso tool, the brush, and the soft eraser for the highlights, and I was really happy with how those turned out. So once the illustration was all finished up, the last thing I had to do was to print it in holiday card format. I knew I was printing these at 4x6 inches, so I made a canvas that was that size, and then I started to play around with the formatting. I added some holiday text, obviously, and then I messed with the color and the outline of this a lot before I finally settled on this one here. Last thing I did was adding a little something to the background so it wouldn't just be a flat color. I was kind of torn between polka dots or stripes, so I asked my sister again, and she said she liked the stripes because she thought they fit the holiday theme a little bit more. And here's the card all finished. I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I did get some printed out to give to my family, and those came out really good too. I had a lot of fun working on this illustration. It was really fun designing and drawing my own little card. I think that it came out really great, and it was a really enjoyable drawing to work on during the holiday season.